Hello, and welcome to the Lore of Braunhaven. Today is part 3 of our Folklore and Tales series, and will be the final part of that series. So we're going to start off with a tale that is told around the town of Braunhaven and even the farmsteads around the town of Braunhaven. Is the the folk are curious about what is that thing that is in Teka Crackerbottom's basement. And of course, Teka Crackerbottom is the proprietor of the Braunhaus Coaching Inn, of which the town of Braunhaven is built around. And she's a halfling. We've talked about her before. And yeah, she runs the inn. She and her family have renovated the inn, and recently, she has been frightened to go down into the cellar beneath the coaching inn, saying that there is something that is mucking about. Now she keeps her fresh kegs of beer and ale and any wine that she purchases or mead is kept down in the basement to keep it cool. And of course, she also has her cheese cave down there, where she ages her award-winning smoked Gouda, and she is now getting to the point where she is fearful to go down there. She says that she has seen um, uh, something large down there, and she has offered up a reward of 10 trade coins to whoever is willing to go down into her basement and deal with whatever it is that is down there. And so many of the farmers and townsfolk think that she's probably exaggerating, uh, seeing something in the dark. Her eyes are playing tricks on her, and most people don't pay too much attention to it. Father uh, Father Ainsworth, Philister Ainsworth, who runs the All Faiths Temple in town, he thinks there might be something more to it, because there has been a similar rumor going around town that people have seen, people that have stepped out of their homes to use the privy, the outhouse outdoors, have seen eerie lights in the All Faiths Temple windows, and these it looks like there might be a lantern, but it's not quite that bright. So maybe it's just a candle. But somebody is moving about in the All Faiths Temple late at night, or I guess you could say early into the morning. But it's far later than Father Ainsworth would be up and moving about. He tends to be a fairly early to bed and early to rise kind of person. He goes to the Braunhaus and has his evening meal and perhaps a glass of wine, or a pint of ale, and then he generally goes back, reads for about an hour, and then goes to bed. And this is fairly early in the evening, and they're saying that they're seeing these lights in the windows of the All Faiths Temple, sometimes at 12 bells, sometimes maybe even as early in the morning as 1 or 2 bells. So he would be fast asleep in the upstairs, or in the second floor of the All Faiths Temple. Constable Millsmith has actually gone and investigated the matter, and he has found so far no evidence of any kind of tomfoolery, or anybody trying to break into the church. But Father Ainsworth thinks that the two situations might be connected in some way, and would be willing to speak to those of the adventurous nature to perhaps look into both matters. The other rumor that's going around the Braunhaus Coaching Inn is that the region has a new neighbor, and along with this new neighbor comes a bit of dread, because the taxman, who we have discussed earlier, the tax assessor, Falcius, has traveled with a duke who has come from Glaushine. Who This duke was awarded an old hunting lodge, and this old hunting lodge sits on the edge of the Salvanus Forest. It's sat there for hundreds of years. Actually, it's been there. It's been abandoned since shortly after the trouble with elves, uh, in which there was skirmishes between the people of the town of Braunhaven and the Salvanus High Elves. And it is, like I said, it's sat abandoned for all this time, and so it is said that this duke, and people are assuming that he is a new duke. He's recently gained the title, although it probably has been in his family for some time, and they just now came across the paperwork that verified the titles and whatnot. But he has been tasked by the emperor to go and claim his titles, and part of that is that he has inherited this old hunting lodge, and he intends to do something with it. Traveling with him is a large retinue, or at least that's what the farmers are saying. There's a large retinue of imperial knights, or at least imperial footmen. There are several wagons, horses. It's a small caravan, and traveling with them is Nestor Falcius, the tax assessor, and I guess they intend to kind of knock out two birds with one stone. The Duke is going to claim his hunting manor, and the tax assessor will collect the taxes for the quarter along the way. So this never bodes well for the Braunhaven region. The locals in the farmsteads say that the manor was renovated almost completely overnight. Like it 1 minute it was an old dilapidated hunting manor, and the next day it was completely remodeled and rebuilt, and is now back to its former glory. They find this unsettlingly weird, because they did hear, of course, the sounds of saws and chopping going on, and many of them worried that this would lead to the Salvanus elves, getting a wild hair and wanting to start a fight again, because they were obviously drawing that wood from the edge of the Sylvanus forest. But so far, that hasn't been the case. The other thing that the locals say is that they can hear the sounds of hunting hounds hunting at the edge of the forest, and they can hear the sounds of horsemen galloping through the woods. And this normally wouldn't be strange, considering that it is a hunting lodge, and he's a nobleman. And when the two things noblemen do well is hunt and drink, and usually together, which has led many a nobleman to his demise. But what they are hearing is that this is happening late at night, and they can hear these hunting hounds howling eerily in the night, and the galloping of horses throughout the late evening, sometimes into the early morning. And going along with this, the farmsteads have seen a increase in shrivelkin attacks. Children have been kidnapped. Some of the farmsteads have actually been lit alight. So some of the farmsteads have been burned, and nobody knows exactly who is committing the burning. Shrivelkin don't usually start fires, but it's weird that all of this has happened. There are also rumors that some of the scarecrows in the fields have suddenly come to life. Things all seem to be happening at the same time, and there's a very weird situation going on concerning the Duke. And the locals, especially in the farmsteads, but also in the town of Braunhaven, are very concerned about this new Duke. They don't know what to expect from him, but it's probably not going to be something good, because the people have pretty much resigned themselves to the fact that if a decree or somebody comes down from Glauschein, the capital city, it is not going to be good for the region. It is not going to be good for them as individuals. And so there is much fear and consternation going on about this Duke. In addition to the Duke, there's a lot of talk that you might hear late at night around the the hearth as you're sipping your ale or wine, and perhaps eating a roasted joint at the inn at the Braunhaus. There are people who tell that the ruins of Castle Braun have always been filled with undead or ghosts, and that there's a tale going around that the brother of one of the townspeople in Braunhaven uh, was had fallen in with a bad sort, and he had joined a band of brigands that were going around kind of robbing the farmsteads and occasionally traders that come up the Eastern Tradeway. And he tells that one night that the band of brigands had camped uh, nestled near the ruins of Castle Braun, and they could hear throughout the night low moans and screams that came into the foggy night coming from the ruins of the castle. Two of the brigands, he claims, from the camp went to investigate, and they were never seen again. In the morning, they went to search for them, and none of those the tracks just suddenly stopped as they entered into the gates of the castle. And so the brigands quickly packed up their supplies and left. This brother the brother says that his brother has left the band of brigands, and that event camping near the ruins of Castle Braun is what led him to lead a better life, and he has since returned to the town of Braunhaven and is now living with his brother's family in town. He said that as he was camping that night, he could see foul shapes moving through the fog. A fog rolled in that it was as thick as pea soup, and he could see foul shapes moving in that fog. And he says that that he will never return to that castle and its ruins. So there's a lot of things going on in the Braunhaven region. Are any of these true? Um, well, as with any rumor or tale that is told around a campfire or around a blazing hearth in the inn or tavern, there's always some kernel of truth somewhere. Um, Perhaps there's some little bit. So perhaps there are foul creatures in Castle Braun. That wouldn't be terribly unusual, especially for the region, considering the proximity of the Prime Plane as it connects to the Fey realm, and of course there are always the denizens that come over from the Shadow realm. So that is a possibility. It is unlikely that the townsfolk just made it up. There's always some bit that is at least partially truthful. Is there treasure there? They don't really speak of any treasure in the ruins of Castle Braun. They don't speak of any treasure at the old hunting manor. Mostly the people are just fearful of these places. Is there treasure in the Braunhaus coaching inn's basement? Well, very many would say that Teka's prized smoked cheese is a treasure in and of itself. People actually come from the Eastern Tradeway and make a point of staying in the town just so that they can have some of Teka's prized smoked Gouda. Of course, there's also the fact that sleeping in an inn bed is much better than sleeping in a tent. So, how much of this is true? How much of it is hyperbole? Who can say? But those are some of the local tales that go around. Next time we're going to be heading west across the Barbarous Trade Bridge. We're going to talk about the Barbarous Trade Bridge itself, and we're going to talk about there is a trail that leads off and quite slightly to the southwest into the southern foothills of the Skelos Mountains, and there is a village there called Stagholm. And we will discuss Stagholm and how it relates to Braunhaven and what is its tax situation. We'll be getting into that next time, so we will see you next week on the Lore of Braunhaven. Thank you for watching.